Good. I have some more material that I want to read that continues this discussion on black and white love. I want to talk about this until it hurts. It's so important for black people to understand that the conclusions and the definitions that they apply to themselves that are not really for them can be challenged, can be rewritten. When I was doing my last video, completely forgot to do my introduction to the video. I think I went right into the points. So I want to talk about this introduction because it's important. I want to cover this. I don't want to miss a beat. You know why? Because the oppressor's not missing a beat. The enemy's not missing a beat, right? The opposition's not missing a beat. They on everything the black folks do, right? What Michael X say, the Negroes do everything you do, they don't miss. So I'm not gonna miss. I forgot to do my introduction. I was so passionate about the topic. I forgot. I feel like with YouTube, you dang near need to have a team, a production team, because it's just so much, you know. So this is the introduction from my previous video, if white and black folks even serve the same God. So this video isn't going to be long. I just wanted to go over this introduction and also tap into a little bit more on the discussion between the differences and the definitions between white love and black love. So this is the introduction from the previous topic. Love is never neutral. It is always defined, practiced, and enforced within a historical and relational context. When one group holds power over another, its definition of love does not exist in a vacuum. It carries the weight of history, hierarchy, and control. For Black Americans, the dominant definitions of love inherited from white European Christianity and Western culture did not emerge from mutuality, but from an unequal relationship marked by enslavement, domination, and enforced dependency. Historically, white expressions of love toward Black people were often framed as paternal care rather than shared humanity. Enslavers claimed to love the enslaved while owning their bodies, separating families and extracting labor. This contradiction created a dangerous precedent. Love could coexist with violence, exploitation, and dehumanization. Over time, love became divorced from liberation and fused with obedience. This version of love demanded compliance. It taught that to be loved was to be quiet, grateful, patient, and non threatening. Resistance was framed as rebellion, anger as sin, and self assertion as moral failure. In this framework, love did not restore dignity, it regulated behavior. The result, merging spirituality with social control, producing a theology and psychology that conditioned Black people to endure rather than to be free. The harm of this distorted love did not end with slavery. It evolved through segregation, Jim Crow, respectability politics, and modern corporate and institutional culture. The message remained consistent. Proximity to whiteness determines your worth, safety, and acceptance. Love became something Black people were expected to earn by minimizing themselves rather than something inherently deserved. If love does not liberate, if it does not restore agency, truth, and dignity in the African American, then it is not love in any biblical, ethical, or psychological sense. It is control wearing the language of care. To understand the present psychological and relational struggles many Black Americans face, we must confront how historically white definitions of love continue to shape Black self concept, belonging, and worth in real time. A lot of times, Black folks will define love using terms and concepts from their enemy, from their oppressors, right? These white identity extremists don't care about you. They don't care for you. They just waiting for you to do something foolish so they can put you in the media, make you look crazy as hell. And, the reason why you have so much negative self-talk and your inner critic is all fired up is because you're choosing the wrong definitions. You have to redefine yourself as a Black American in a white dominated society. You even have a lot of these different cultures and foreigners that are coming in identifying as white, from Middle Easterners to, Asians to Hispanics, right? So the white class just keeps building and building. All right. They don't want to identify with you Negroes. So you got to start separating yourself and redefining your self love through different terms. Right. Love at its core is meant to recognize humanity, protect dignity, and move toward repair. Yet love is never practiced outside of power. In the United States, dominant white definitions of love were formed within a historical relationship where black people were enslaved, controlled, and dehumanized. When love is defined by the group that benefited from another group's suffering, it often lacks the language, patience, and moral capacity to hold the pain of those that it harmed. Black pain does not fit white love because white love was never designed to confront the full reality of black suffering. It was designed to preserve order. Historical distortion of love during slavery. Enslavers claimed to love the enslaved while denying them autonomy, family bonds, literacy, and bodily freedom. And you see this even in black folks, right, who claim they love each other and all these different things, but the love is toxic, right? Yeah, I love you, and then you're beating her ass, right? It's like, come on, don't poison the purity of what love could be, the possibility of what love could be by adopting definitions of your oppressor, right? Definitions of your enemy. Clearly, they want you black folks out of here. And then you're taking on their definitions, you're taking on their terms, and then you're spitting that poison at each other. All you're doing is fighting with weapons that were crafted by your opposition, essentially, psychologically. It's at the psychological level now. All right. So you have to be black Americans, younger black youth have to be alert and on guard more than ever. Okay. So it says here, this contradiction produced a model of love divorced from liberation, infused with obedience. Sociologists note that paternalism, quote unquote care, mixed with control was a defining feature of slavery and segregation. This legacy taught that love could coexist with domination and that the discomfort of the oppressed was less important than the moral comfort of the oppressor. That distorted template did not disappear, it evolved. Research consistently shows that Black Americans experience higher levels of racial stress while receiving lower levels of empathy from dominant groups. This is why I don't believe the white identity extremists can love a Black person. It's not possible. Their concepts, their definitions, their even theology does not take into consideration liberation of Black people. Their love means you guys need to be obedient. You guys need to be subservient, submissive, and quiet. Keep your mouth shut, keep the peace, and not rock the boat. Okay? So I don't even believe that can exist, which is why you have these real rigid, unchangeable structures in American society, socially, economically, where these things are just fixed realities. And people just normalize it and become insensitive to any sort of change, or they're really sensitive to change or any person or persons trying to, deviate from the norm because they're just like, this is just the way it is, bro. I even have people in my comments, man, there's nothing going to change. This is just how it is. I don't want to be around those type of niggas, man. Stay away from me. Stay away from this channel. Just if you got that fixed, this is just how it is. We're doing to suffer. We're doing just stay the fuck away from me, bro. Like I don't need you. I don't need your likes. I don't need anything. I don't need your views. I don't need nothing from you. All right. You coming on my comment in my comment section and spitting out that real just toxicity isn't benefiting me. You're really just coming to make your voice heard, but nobody want to hear that. Studies on racial empathy gaps demonstrate that white Americans on average underestimate Black pain and overestimate Black resilience. For example, research published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that white participants were more likely to believe Black people feel less pain than white people, an implicit bias rooted in slavery era myths. A lot of these white folks think you Black folks experience less pain, right? This gap explains why Black pain is often met with minimization, defensiveness, or advice instead of care. In everyday life, this mismatch shows up subtly but constantly. When Black people name racial harm, they are often told it wasn't meant that way. When they express anger, they are labeled as aggressive. When they withdraw, they are called cold. White defined love prioritizes intent over impact, comfort over truth, and resolution over repair. As a result, Black pain feels disruptive rather than deserving of care. And relationships becomes sites where black people must explain, soften, or justify their suffering to remain acceptable. Psychologically, this creates a dangerous internal split. When love repeatedly fails to hold pain, people begin to doubt their own perceptions. Many Black Americans learn to silence themselves to maintain belonging, which research links to increased anxiety, depression, and racial battle fatigue. Love that cannot tolerate grief, rage, or protest becomes unsafe. It teaches that to be loved, one must be less honest, less embodied, and less whole. When black people adopt definitions of love created by those who oppress them, the harm turns inward. Self criticism replaces self compassion. Anger is attacked as a character flaw instead of understood as a signal. Boundaries are labeled selfish. This is what Frantz Fanon described as internalized oppression. The oppressed began policing themselves using the language, standards, and conclusions of the dominant group. They also turned this inward violence outward, judging other black people through frameworks that ignore historical and present day constraints. You see this a lot. A lot of you black folks are just carrying the ghosts of your white oppressors, of your white slave masters. Okay, that's why I don't interact with a lot of you niggas, because you're not really black per se. You're just sort of like a shell that's carrying a lot of the ideologies, hatred, right, and toxicity that the dominant society has towards you. And you're putting that shit against black people. All black on black violence is, you know, African Americans who act as shells or sort of conduits for white oppressive ideologies, right? And psychological tactics of division. And you guys inherit that stuff. You define yourself by that stuff, and then you go attack each other with it, right? You're fighting with swords that you didn't even create against each other, killing each other, right? I'm not about to let you turn me into that, okay? That's why you see a lot of times black people don't really have a lot of grace for each other. Sometimes Negroes are more harder on other Negroes. They're trying to share their ideas. They're trying to build community. They're trying to have discussions. And you'll have some black people that are more hateful than some of these white folks, more aggressive where you can't even get a word out. That's why sometimes it's like, I don't mind working with the community and working with people, but if we're not aligned, I'm gonna keep it pushing, because I know sometimes a lot of you black folks are a lot more harder, more harsh, and sensitive towards your own people. That's facts, right? I don't need your validation, right? So it's just that's something you got to figure out. That's a battle you got to figure out within yourself. So, why redefinition is essential and redefining love is not about hatred or separation. It is about survival and truth. For African Americans, reclaiming love means grounding acceptance, worth, and belonging in definitions that honor your history, your trauma, resilience, and your personal dignity. Love must be able to sit with pain without rushing to absolution. It must allow anger without moral condemnation. It must prioritize repair over reassurance. Without this redefinition, love becomes another mechanism of harm rather than a source of healing. So, some ways Black Americans can redefine love. Number one, define love as liberating, not appeasing, right? Love should increase agency, not require silence or self erasure. Okay. If you're in your family and you see people suffering, and in bondage, whether it be to negative thinking, insecurity, low self esteem, unfair treatment, or abuse. If you see your sister getting abused, she's in an abusive relationship, love isn't going to sit there and say, hey, these are the reasons why you should stay. These are the reasons why you should continue. Right? You want to liberate her. You want to free her from that unhealthy relationship, that unhealthy pattern. If you see your mom getting her ass beat, you're not going to just go right up to her and say, hey, these are reasons why you need to remain. Okay. You want her to be liberated. You want to help free her from that condition and that situation. That's love. Okay. Center impact over intent. If harm occurred, love listens first instead of defending itself. Three, honor anger as information. Anger is not the opposite of love. It is often love demanding justice. Four, separate worth from whiteness. Acceptance does not require proximity to dominant norms or comfort. Five, normalize rest, grief, and softness. Love allows vulnerability without punishment or suspicion. Six, practice collective compassion. Extend grace to other Black people without reproducing oppressive standards. And seven, root love in truth and repair. Love that heals, tell the truth about history, and commits to change, not denial. If love cannot hold Black pain, it is not love. It is comfort, and comfort that costs someone their humanity is too expensive to keep. So yeah, that's all I have for today, man. I'm gonna take a break, man. It's the generation is not advanced and intellectual enough as a whole. I mean, there's individuals and things like that who have some wisdom and who read and educate themselves, but it's such an ignorant, massive generation that it's not really even worth my time to continue stressing some of this stuff. But for the people who do understand and who are committed to seeing the black condition improve, I'll make these videos and different things like that. But I'm gonna take a break, man. Focus on my kids and my family, and focus on loving myself, man. Because it's just right now, it's not, we're not there yet. But respect to the black folks that are doing their best, doing the work. Red pill, blue pill, your brother Rich. We got the business channel. Salute to you guys, and other, African Americans that are out there doing the work on YouTube. I don't know a lot of you guys' channels, but I know there are a lot of black men, black women, Yvette Carnell, who are really passionate about improving the condition of black folks. I'm paying attention. I'm really thankful for you guys. It's almost like a medicine, when you can connect to other black, speakers and leaders, and they're able to validate and speak to your experiences, and they're not just kind of, you know buying into, oh, it's about maintaining the comfort of the dominant group and doing what's trending, and all these different things. It's really refreshing to see people who are willing to, take risks to have these conversations to improve the condition of our people. This is like really, really important to me. This is why I became a counselor, is to improve the black condition. Okay. So I hope you guys have a happy holiday. For what it's worth, a safe holiday. It's hard to even celebrate holidays these days because it's just like almost like putting a band-aid on the suffering that the black community is experiencing psychologically and spiritually. The gifts and the presents and things like that don't replace and substitute, black liberation. And in some ways I believe these things are just almost like strategic distractions to keep, society and, really the world and America off of focusing on liberation for oppressed peoples, and, really coming together to make a difference. It just kind of keeps things in place in a lot of ways. So it's even the inspiration of the holidays isn't really the same. When you're looking out the window and you're seeing your community suffering, right? Still killing each other, people still just depressed and sad and not loving themselves. It's really hard to, you know, focus so much on the ho ho ho's, right? And the Santa Claus and all these different things. But, we live in a culture where, we are definitely a product of conditioning and programming and ritual, very ritualistic. It's like if you fall off the train and you fall off the wagon, it's like, oh, um, you're not fitting in and all these different things. But nevertheless, you know, um, praying, for you black folks, man, and that you at least have, something you could smile about during the holidays, and even after the holidays, um, that you can leave the situation with some integrity. Praying for you guys. I'm doing some more reading and some more research on this discussion because it's really important, not only for me, but for my kids, for our kids, for our future as black people. We need to be educated. We need to be knowledgeable. Okay. We need to love ourselves first, or we're not good for each other. We're really not. That's why it's no rush for a lot of the black intellectuals and those who are blessed with the gift of the Holy Spirit of having, self awareness and universal consciousness. They're not in a rush to connect with a lot of you guys, because it can really do more harm than good if we're not connected and have a common ground where we can see our thoughts as thoughts and be able to unify in a respectful manner that we can all lead the conversation with some integrity. Okay. Um, Definitely would love to work with, other black organizations, other black groups, which I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of work behind the scenes that you guys don't need to necessarily know about because everything isn't for everybody, but I'm doing the work. But, there could be more work that I could be doing. It's not enough. Um, so yeah, man, just praying for my community. absolutely, it's important to for me to contribute as best as I can to improving the black condition. Absolutely, it's important to me. That's why. That's why. That's why. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to get up here and share some of these important points. Redefine yourself. Redefine your love. Your definition of love. Don't use the spirit of your enemies' definitions. These white identity extremists are your enemies. You better believe that. They don't need to tell you. Don't let white people have to tell you everything for it to be knowledge. Don't let white people have to, you know, verbalize everything for it to be believable. You see what's going on. Okay? Don't be ignorant. Okay? This need to be the time. The black youth need to be reading books more than ever. So much good literature out there. If you guys have any great book recommendations, throw them out there, put them out there. We need to be reading, studying, sharpening our minds, sharpening our weapons of our insight, our weapons of our wisdom. Okay. Um, I really believe that. So I have some more cases to do, some more work to do. I just really care about the black folks, man. And I'm from Detroit, man. Every time I go back home, man, it just hurts my heart, man, when I see black people suffering anywhere. It really hurts my heart, man. I don't know why I feel this way. I could easily just be blind to it and just go on and live my life, right? My life is pretty good. I have a lot of things that people would die for. I don't know why I'm so passionate about this, but it's just in me. I just really care about black people. I feel like we're connected to so many other groups, and if we can fix our situation and fix our condition, it can help the world. I really believe that. You know, um, it can help the world. I do believe African American people are very special people, and I don't believe God will put us in this situation to fail us. You know, I'm not buying that. So yeah, pray for me. You know, um, yeah, man. I'm out.